Buenos dias, Valencia. So the last time I was here speaking in Spain, it was 2011. And so I know what some of you are thinking. It's been 7 years, and he still hasn't learned Spanish. He must be slow. And I am. So when I was asked to come speak, Francis and Fernando, they gave me my topic. They didn't allow me to choose my topic. I don't know whether they were afraid. I don't know whether they feared I would come and say things they didn't like, but they handed me the topic. They said, this is what we'd like you to speak about. We'd like you to address these disruptive companies that are emerging in the real estate space and what impact you think that's going to have on the real estate market, not just in the United States, but also here in Spain and in the rest of the world. And so I decided that the best thing that I could do when being handed the topic was at least try and come up with a really interesting title. Because disruptive companies, disruptive technologies, nobody would show up here this morning. You'd go, this is boring. Who wants to hear that? I don't even want to hear that. I'm not even sure I want to hear what I'm going to say today. The fact that you all are here, I knew I was in trouble last night. About, 1:30, 1:45 in the morning, Francis walks up to me he says, this is a gin and tonic, but it has no gin. At that moment, I knew I was dealing with a liar. So the fact that you're all here this morning, thank you very much. But this topic is one that I think is critical, and it's important for a lot of reasons, but it's not important necessarily because I think any of the companies that I'm going to talk about are actually going to kill you. I don't believe that. So, Julio, where are you? Julio saw me speak in Dallas, and he said to me last night, he said, you made everyone sad in Dallas when I was talking about artificial intelligence. And it really wasn't my goal to make everyone sad, but apparently I did. And so this morning, I don't want to make you sad, but I do want you to recognize everyone is trying to kill you. They are. Every one of these new technology platforms that's coming out, these new models, and I say new because a lot of these models aren't actually new. They feel new, they look new, they put a different spin on the real estate business, but they're not truly new. There are only a few, there are only a couple truly new real estate business models that are coming out, and I'm going to highlight 2 of those for you today. But first I want to dispel some myths because I think it's important that you all understand who you are and actually understand who your real competitors are. One of the things that's been really interesting to me about the real estate industry and being in it from a technology standpoint is that this experience that you're having right now, where realtors from all over come together and meet and they share their best practices, is a very unique thing. I've been in other industries. I don't see the same thing happen in other industries. You are very cooperative. Everybody who was at the last session yesterday where the gentleman was talking about the origin of the species, that cooperation, that ability to work together, that empathy you have for each other and for your clients, to me, again, looking from the outside, it is a very specific thing to the real estate industry. And so for the most part, you don't act like competitors. Even if one of you is with Keller Williams and one of you is with RE/MAX and one of you is with Century 21 and one of you is with someone else, you're way more cooperative than most businesses where companies compete. Would you agree with that? Yes. Yes. And so as a result, you come to conferences like this and you hear your fellow realtors stand on the stage and they give you advice and they tell you what to do. And so it's important to understand that just because some shiny new real estate company comes onto the market and they look like they're a competitor or they look like they're there to kill you, understand who the real enemies are. What are the real enemies? A new real estate company is not an enemy. A new real estate company is not trying to kill you. What's really happening there? Most of these companies are just a different package. It's the same real estate agents. They move from one company to another. It's the same agents and the same model. It's not a new business. Everyone in the United States is talking about a company called Compass, right? Is Compass a new business model? Please. They're not. And yet, because they're using technology and they're packaging it in a very specific way, they've gone out and secured something in the neighborhood of $600 million in venture capital funding. I'm not even going to begin to try and explain to you how they did it or why someone believes that doing that is a smart decision. But I don't believe they're a new business model. They're not. It's a new package to the same model. So, this quote, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you don't need to fear the result of 100 battles. And that's part of, we could skip to the end right now. I could walk off the stage and we could probably be done today. This is the most critical thing to understand. Do you really know who you are? Do you really know who you are? And do you really understand who the enemy is? Who the competition is? I'm not certain we do. And so we're friends. Some of you I've seen in multiple cities across the United States over the last 7 or 8 years. Some of you I know, I look around the audience, I see familiar faces. I'm going to talk to you today like friends. And I may say some things that will seem controversial, and if I do, you'll forgive me because I'm a friend, right? Okay, good. Okay, so here's the problem I see. I call them the real estate dinosaurs. And what I'm really talking about are the Realogies of the world, Century 21, ERA, Coldwell Bank, and I know some of you are sitting here today, but the real estate dinosaurs, and what I mean is the companies who've been around for a long time, they're constantly on the lookout for this meteor that's going to come and somehow destroy the real estate industry. That's what they're looking for. And the news, the media, Inman and others, they're constantly putting out headlines that sort of play off of this. Is fill in the blank. You could write the headlines in advance. Is fill in the blank going to destroy the real estate industry? It doesn't matter what it is. Is this going to destroy the real estate? Anytime you see an article that asks kind of questions, just assume that the answer is no. And then skip to the end of the article and move on with your life. Because there's no one thing. There is no one thing that's going to do that. And it's certainly not going to be Zillow. It's not Zillow. You're all familiar with Zillow, right? You know who Zillow is? Raise your hand if you know who Zillow is. Okay, some of you don't know who Zillow is. Turn to your neighbor, ask them what Zillow is, and they'll tell you. I can remember early on, as Zillow was just, sort of coming into position in the United States, the tremendous amount of fear around what was happening, what they were going to do with the data. Was Zillow going to come and replace real estate agents? If somehow the consumer had this new ability to go and get data in this new and interesting way, if realtors were no longer in control of this, was this going to do away with realtors? And what ended up happening? Nothing. Nothing. Nothing ended up happening. In fact, it ended up being good for the real estate industry in the end. If you look back through the arc of everything that's happened since Zillow came into existence, as much as they're still vilified, as much as people still wring their hands and, cry about everything they're doing, nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. Nothing. Even with all of their technology, all of their tools, everything they've done, all of their power, all of their money, first of all, they still haven't made a profit. Okay? but nothing has changed. And so everybody pointed to Zillow. Is Zillow going to be the one? Is Zillow the meteor that's going to come and destroy the real estate industry? And they're that first portion, that first one. They're the first company that I remember listening to the conversations at the brokerages and going to conferences and hearing people talk about what the potential was, this disastrous potential of the Zillow. And it never came to be. And how many of those have existed? How many times has someone from a stage warned you about the potential of something dramatically changing the real estate industry? Too many times. Again, none of it real, because that's not how it's going to happen. If you're going to go extinct, if the real estate dinosaurs are going to die and go extinct, it's not going to be because of a meteor. It's going to be more like global warming. See, here's the thing. If you believe that your demise is going to come as a result of some big event, some special company is going to come along and all of a sudden they're going to render my services useless, and all of this knowledge that I've built up over these years is going to be cast away to the side, and they're going to come and kill the real estate industry. Some big company with lots of money, new technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning. They'll throw out any number of words to make it sound really, really technically amazing. If you believe that, and that's what's happening, you will not change your behavior. Because there's nothing you can do about that. See, if you believe that what's going to happen is that some technology guru is going to come along and invent something that makes this process all of a sudden so simple that anyone can be able to do it, like it's going to do away with all of the issues and all of the pain and all of the problems and all of the things that that you're required to learn in order to help a consumer through this process. If you believe that, you won't change a thing. You'll just keep going along about your business. And what you'll do instead is that every time one of these new technology companies pop up, or every time one of these new models pops up, you'll point to it and say, oh, that's not it. That's not going to kill me. And what you'll not do is pay attention to what little thing they're doing that's slowly chipping away at the consumer's trust in the realtor and in the traditional real estate industry. Like global warming, 1 degree at a time, slowly but surely. And if you don't pay attention to that, and if you don't change your behavior long before it becomes too late, then yes, someone will come along and kill you, but they will kill you slowly. It will not be one fell swoop, and it will not be a meteor. And so what do we have? What does it look like? There are some companies. Francis sent me an email, and he said, take a look at these companies. He said, I think these companies are fairly disruptive. They're coming into the market, and they're creating some noise. And I just want to say something straight off the bat. If you think that discount brokers are disruptive, like these are the new disruptive companies, I have no help for you. Discount brokers have been around forever. They're prettier packages now. They do things online. It's a different wrapper. Is it really different? This is what I mean by know your enemy. Like really know your enemy. Are any of these companies really unique? Honestly, ask yourself this question. And because I sat and I looked at these companies, and I thought to myself, how are these companies unique? What are they doing differently than any other discount broker has ever done in the history of real estate? It's just pretty packaging. And so, but here's what it does. a little bit. One of them says this here, and they make a claim, and they put in the mind of the consumer that you shouldn't be paying so much, or you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't have to do that. They just seed. They seed the thought in the brain. And so we're talking about the consumer and how the consumer thinks about the real estate industry and how the consumer thinks about the real estate process. We're talking about the natural progress of human behavior. If I'm seeing lots and lots of companies pop up, it's not a single company that presents the problem. It's the consistency of the message that I read that ends up being the problem. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's the reinforcement of a belief. You know, Pedro last night, Pedro Pereira from Portugal, he was saying, you know, real estate agents in the United States have such a great reputation. They have a great reputation. I said, what are you talking about? I said, every Pew research done for the last 20 years places real estate agents below politicians. Real estate agents aren't seen. It's like attorneys. Everybody hates attorneys except their own attorney, right? Everybody hates real estate agents except their own real estate agent. They love their real estate agent, but they hate all other real estate agents. Same thing with attorneys. So there is a reputation problem with real estate. And not unlike Gary was saying, or not unlike Fernando was saying when he introduced Gary, when I go to a conference, I don't get the same experience that other consumers get with realtors. I only meet the best. Only the best realtors show up at conferences, right? So we stand up here on these, yes, Enid, it does, that's great. We stand up here on these stages and we're like a pastor preaching to the choir. You guys already know what songs we're gonna sing. You already know the things that you're supposed to do. We're talking to a group of people who are the best among the best. And so when I think of a realtor, I think of you. But when my neighbors on my street in Southern California think of a realtor, that's not what they think of. And so the battle is happening one thought at a time. One little detail at a time where someone raises doubt. Someone continues to question whether or not you collectively as an industry are the right choice for the consumer to make when they decide to sell their house. Collectively, as an industry, the enemy are all of these little 1 degree at a time, one comment at a time, mention, reiteration, reinforcement of what they already sort of kind of think about the real estate process. That is, of course, until they have a really bad real estate experience. The last house that I sold, I've told this story from the stage before. I don't know that I've ever told it here. I had the worst real estate. I've not talked to many people who've had a worse real estate experience than I had with my realtor. I ended up creating my own flyers. I took the photos of my house myself. I sat my open house myself. The realtor didn't do it for me. The realtor then, after I found someone, then did both sides of the deal, represented the buyer and me. It was a horrible, terrible, ridiculous experience. And yet, that process, all of those things that we had to go through to get to the end, to get to the closing, even with that bad experience, I still wouldn't sell my house today without a realtor. I'm not going to go out and try and sell the house on my own. There's too many things for me to worry about. And so here's the real rub for me about all these discount brokers. All the ones we saw up there. What problem are they really solving? There's only one, right? Commissions. But my question is, is that really a problem? Is it? I actually want to hear from you now. Do you get so many objections to your commission that you can't do business? No, you don't. You still go out and get business. People still come to you. They still do these transactions. Commissions are not the problem. They're not really solving the problem. Is the same pain still there for the person who's selling their house? Yes. Do they still have to go through the same process? Is the model basically still the same? Everything that they have to do, is it still the same? Yes. It changes nothing. And so all I've done in this case, as a consumer, if I choose to go to a discount broker, is I've taken more of the pain upon myself. So if I value my time, and I do, I'm not choosing a discount broker. Now, maybe I'm unique, but I'm not doing it. I don't want to go through the pain to begin with. And so this is the question that I want you to be asking yourself every time you see one of these new models come up. What problem are they really solving? And if the only problem they're solving is that they're saving somebody money on commission, stop worrying about them. Because you already fight that fight every single day. You've been fighting it your entire career. You go in and you justify your value. You go in and you justify your commission. They don't change that. Now, they may make it difficult because their voices become louder and larger, but it doesn't change anything. Those of you in this room already know how to do that. So stop fearing the discount broker. No matter how they package themselves, no matter what technology they place behind it, if the problem they're solving is, I'm going to reduce your commissions, but I'm going to keep all of the other processes the same, only I'm going to shift the responsibility onto the consumer, they've created more problems for the consumer, not less. I want you to look at this. What they say they do is no different than what you do. Only they're saying, Mr. Consumer, yes, we'll do this for you at a reduced commission. But are they really? No. No. The consumer's taking on that responsibility. What's the problem being solved? So, I know that this statistic is different here in Europe. Pedro, again, we were talking about this yesterday. Zillow comes along, all these new technology companies come along over the last decade, right? It's been a deluge of new technology companies and changes and social media and everything Gary talked about. All of these things come along. You would think that with all of this information and all of this data, now I have access to all of this, that people would use realtors less, right? No, they don't. They actually use realtors more than they ever have, ever. And while the numbers aren't as high here as they are in the United States, 87% is pretty amazing, right? 87% of people who sell their houses use a realtor in the United States. Pedro, where are you? Pedro, are you here? Speak up. I think the number he said last night, it's risen by 10% over the last 10 years. Now, it's lower than the United States. But still, in that same period of time, even with all of the technology, 10% more people now use a realtor. Why do you think that is? I have a theory, and it's sort of counter to what most people think. In exposing all of this data and in providing all of this information, what these companies have actually done is shown just how difficult the process is. They've actually validated. See, you can do it yourself. Oh, crap, this is hard. I don't want to do this myself. I'm going to go get a realtor. See, that's what's ended up happening. In shedding light on all this data and making it easier to go search for your own homes and making it easier for you to go do all of these things, what they've actually done is made it easier for someone to say, I don't want to do that. That's crazy. Why would I want to do that? I'm going to go hire a realtor. All right. That, to me, is the actual environment that we live in today. They're exposing all of these things, which are a part of the difficulties of the process, and it's pushing people more towards realtors. So what's the next step? Where's the real pain? If it's not commissions, what's the real pain? Where is the enemy going to come from? Remember, back, first slide. If you know yourself and you know your enemy, you don't have to fear the battle. So we need to get to know the enemy. Who's the real enemy? The real enemy is anyone who's not paying attention to the consumer's real pain. And that may be some of you in this room. You may be your own enemy. But here are two companies. I'm going to focus on two companies. I'm going to tell you some stories. Two companies that I believe truly are new models. They are truly breaking things, and in a really unique way. So I woke up this morning. My practice with presentations like this is that I look at the timer, and I look at what slide I'm on, and I see that I have 32 minutes and 34 seconds left in my presentation. I know what slide I'm on, and so now I can either tell you this story or not tell you this story, so I'm going to tell you this story. Right? So I wake up this morning, because I don't actually finalize what I'm going to say until the morning of my presentation. In my head, I begin thinking about it. And so this morning on LinkedIn, one of my good friends, Dan Green, he runs a company called Growella. If you want to hear some really interesting daily facts about the mortgage industry in a really unique way, find his Mortgage Minute and a Half videos on LinkedIn, Dan Green from Growella. They're really informative. He's really passionate about the mortgage industry. And this morning, what he was talking about is the human factors that drive the decision-making about buying a home. What are they? So NAR does this generational trends report every single year, and the generational trends report is really about the human factors. What are the human factors that are driving buying decisions? What's the number one reason people decide to buy a house? It's not the market. It's not mortgage rates. It's not increases in prices of property. It just feels like the right time. Their gut says it's the right time. It's the right time for me. And the right time for me and the right time for you are going to be two different things. And there's very little we can do to predict that. By far, it was the number one reason. It wasn't even close. Market conditions were way down in like 4th or 5th place. And so we sit around and we talk about, oh, when the market changes, this is going to happen, or when house prices go up, or mortgage prices, no, none of that matters. None of it matters. It's the right time to buy. And so, with that in mind, I want to talk about why I think this statement is both right and wrong. I think it's right. So Brian Boero of 1000 Watt, he said this: the next wave of real estate tech will be focused on helping, notice where the focus is here. It will be focused on helping good agents win business the old-fashioned way. Now, I love Brian, but I also know who his clients are. His clients are real estate agents and brokers. His clients are real estate agents and brokers. The old-fashioned way: referrals, farming, relationships, networking, loyalty. Does that sound great? The next wave of technology is going to focus on that. More intelligently, and I hope more humanely. So here's the key. If those technologies are focused on being more humane, is the focus really the real estate agent? No. The focus is the consumer. It's not about being more humane to the agent. It's about being more humane to the consumer. It's about not constantly hitting them with emails. You know, we're training. We teach people how we want to be treated, right? That's a classic human psychology, sociology thing. I teach you with the way I respond to you how I want you to treat me. If I allow you to talk to me in a certain way, I'm teaching you that it's okay for you to talk to me in that way. Well, we've instituted some things on the marketing side of the equation simply because we can that I think are not humane at all. If the first time I go onto your website, you stop bombarding me with emails, that's not a humane way to treat me. I'm not a piece of meat. Oftentimes, you go onto a website and you feel, like Nemo up on the, you remember Nemo and the seagulls like, mine, 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 mine. That's you. You're those seagulls. You're like, a lead comes up, mine, 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 mine. That's not humane. But I also think he's wrong. I actually don't think that's where the next wave of technology is coming from, because again, it misses the point. Where's the focus? He's putting the focus on the real estate agent, solving the problem for the real estate agent, relieving the pain for the real estate agent. And as long as this industry and the technology of this industry continues to focus on solving the pain of the real estate agent, then you are always going to leave this vacuum of space for any company who solves the pain of the consumer. So, more humanely, what does that mean? Showing empathy for the pains of others. I loved yesterday's last session presentation because when he talked about how this is why we've survived as a species. We help each other. This is what we do. He was speaking directly to you as an industry without saying it, without the words, without spoon feeding it to you. What he was saying is, you are the helpers. You are the ones who are supposed to have the most empathy. You're the ones who are supposed to be shepherding these people through this process and doing the things for them that they can't do for themselves, protecting themselves, protecting them. And so the companies that are going to succeed are not going to be focusing on solving problems for you and making your life easier as a realtor. What they're going to focus on is being truly empathetic to where the real pain lies for the person who wants to buy or sell a house. They're going to do what you should be doing, and they're just going to do it in a different way. And so there's two companies that I want you to take a look at, and I'm going to tell a couple of quick stories. How many of you have heard of Open Door? Raise your hand if you've heard of Open Door. Okay, let me do it differently. Because seriously, how many of you were still there at 4 o'clock last night? All right. How many of you have never heard of Open Door? Raise your hand. Don't be afraid. No one will bite. You've never heard of Open Door? Okay. Let me tell you what Open Door does. This is a truly different model. If I go on to Open Doors, and this is a photo I took at an Open Door house in Scottsdale, Arizona. I went to speak at the Arizona Association of Realtors conference. I wanted to see how Open Door works. One of my very good friends now works for them. And I wanted to understand, is this really what they say it is? So here's the process. Think about the pain. Think about the pain. I want to sell my house. What's going to happen? How long is it going to take? What am I going to have to go through? Got to get it ready. I've got to deal with open houses. I mean, I have 6 kids. 4 of our kids will almost be all in high school now at the same time. 2 of them are already out and at college, but they're all going to be in high school at the same time. I am tired of driving my children. I love my children. And I hate my children. I hate driving my children. I'm done driving my children. The best possible thing that could happen in my life, and I'm not exaggerating, if you said, Jeff, you get one wish in your life. What's that one wish? I wish to live in the house that's right across the street from the high school. I want them to get up in the morning and I want them to walk over to school. And then at the end of the day, I want them to walk home and I don't want any of them to talk to me about it and I don't want to hear from them and I just want them to do it. I don't want to see them. I don't even want to say goodbye in the morning. I want to sleep in. I want them to get up, make their breakfast, go to high school, and come back. I want that house right next to that high school. Okay, what's the problem? I have to sell my house first. I'm not doing that. The chances of me actually the house that I want coming on the market, me being able to do everything I need to do with my current house in order to sell it, in order to do this and do all, thinking about it makes my brain hurt. So what does Open Door do? If Open Door was in my city, and they're not, they're only in 10 cities now. And by the way, Open Door is on pace to buy, see, they buy houses, to buy $2 billion worth of houses in the United States this year. They're going to buy $2 billion worth of houses. Not a lot of money, actually, if you think about it. But it's a start. They're chipping away. What's the process? I go onto their website, and I say, I want you to buy my house. I put in my address. They tell me a price. Like right now. Like I could go on right now, I put in my address, and they say, okay, we'll buy your house for this price. What problem are they solving? So they buy the house, they give you the price, they come out, they do a quick visit, you have your money in 3 days. No showings, I don't do a thing, I don't go through the process, I sell my house in 3 days. And then what do? They give me my money, I move. What problem have they solved? I don't know, like 100. They've solved like 100 problems for me. That's a very compelling thing. What's the average? See, this is, and they point, oh, they can't sustain that. They have to be making money here. It must be way more expensive. Yeah, it is a little bit more expensive. About 7%. Not 6%, which is the average commission in the United States, 7%. So I'm paying 1% more, and I have none of this pain. Sign me up. I am a target for them. I got too many things going on in my life. I'm in Spain today. My son's running a high school track meet today. I got too many things going on in my life. Do I want to deal with selling a house? No. Do I want to put my wife through No, I don't want to do that. They are solving a problem of pain. And the other side of the equation, what happens now? They've purchased this house. I've moved out. It's an empty house. What do? They fix it up. They do basic things. They go in, they make it clean. It's nice to walk through. And so this is inside of this house. What did I have to do to see this house? I downloaded an app. I got up at 6:30 in the morning because that's when it was convenient for me and my schedule. I didn't have to call an agent. I didn't have to work with the agent's schedule. I didn't have to go meet them somewhere. I didn't have to do any of that. I went to the house with the app. I pressed a button. The door unlocked. I went in. I walked around the house at my own pace with nobody bothering me. I took photos. I made a tour for myself. I was in there for 30 minutes with no one bothering me, with no one asking me questions in my ear. Is this the right house for you? Should we look at another? Do you want to do? And if I want to in their app, I like this one, but I want to see more like this one. And then I can just go to the next one. And what's one of my pain points? My wife and I decided, okay, let's try and find a house near the high school. What did we do? She prefers Realtor.com, not Zillow. She likes the way the search results work better. So she goes onto Realtor.com and she starts looking for houses. What's the pain point for her now? Now she's got to call up the agent. She's got to schedule around her time. They've got to figure out all of these different things with their schedules because she's busy too and agents are busy. And while agents do a really good job of trying to make certain they're available 24/7, why should you be available 24/7? Why would you want to be available 24/7? And so the pain is I can't get to see it when I want to see it, and now I've got to go through the trouble, and now I don't even want to do that anymore. As a consumer, that's painful. So not only have they solved the pain point on the selling side for a certain percentage of the population that say, I don't want to go through this, I just want to sell my house, and they buy the house, they also make purchasing their home so much easier because now it's like Uber for houses. I'm walking up and I'm clicking a button and I'm getting into this house. It's like I have, an MLS lock. It's brilliant. You want to say, no, it can't be. No, it's unbelievable. It was such an amazing experience. See, this is truly a new business model. This isn't just somebody lowering commissions. This is somebody saying, I'm going to take away the pain. I'm going to be empathetic. I am going to treat the consumer more humanely. I loved it. I loved it. And I'm telling you right now, if they come to Los Angeles and if they come to my area, the first thing I'm going to do is go put my address in and see how much they offer me for my house. Because if they offer me the right amount, I will sell it immediately and put myself in a position to buy one of those other houses that I really want to live in. I'll go live in an apartment for 6 months. If I can get a house next to that high school, I will live in an apartment for 6 months. Okay, but wait, there's more. See, something happens. Something really special happens when you begin to shift your focus away from either yourself, and as much as you all hate to admit it, you know, all your business cards still have your face on it. All your marketing is still focused on you, most of it. This isn't about you. It's never been about you. It's always been about the consumer. And so the moment that shift happens, when it truly happens, when all you're thinking about is how do I ease their pain? How do I ease their pain? How do I ease their pain? Different ways of thinking come about. And so we're seeing this. I couldn't believe this last week. It was an article in Inman News about one big team at RE/MAX leaving. Now, first of all, my first thought was, how does this make Inman news? Why is this news that some broker, some team, big team, leaves and goes out on their own? How does this make Inman news? And then it hit me. It makes Inman news because it fits in with the agenda of a technology-based newspaper to say the industry's broken. Okay? We have a problem with fake news in the United States right now. Is anybody aware of that? Yeah, we have a lot of problems, but that's one of the problems. The other problem is everybody has an agenda. I have an agenda, you have an agenda. Everybody has an agenda. And this fits that agenda. But he says the traditional real estate model has failed and that he wants to provide more services to his customers. But is he actually going to a new model? No. It's crap. This is the most ridiculous quote. The traditional real estate model has failed. I want to provide more services to my customers. Well, then just go provide more service to your customers and shut up. I mean, seriously. Because you're going to go and start your own independent firm, and what are you going to do? You're going to use the same exact model. It's a lie. It's literally a lie. It's him jumping on the bandwagon of saying the traditional model is broken, the traditional model is broken. Well, if it's so broken, why are you going to use it to go offer more services? Just offer more services. God, it drives me nuts. Sorry about that. That was a little rant. But here's the thing. All right, next company, company number 2. Similar, slightly different. Slightly different. So, Open Door, what do? They buy my house instantly. And then I go do whatever I want to do, and then they sell that house. What does Knock do? This one blew my mind. Now, we could sit around and debate all day long whether or not they're going to be able to make money, whether or not they're going to be able to go through all of the processes that they're going to have to go through to make this work. But what we're not going to be able to do is argue about its potential value. Here's what they do. I find a house I want. They buy that house for me. They buy it, all cash. I move into that house. They fix up my house. They sell my house. They transfer ownership in this house to me. Right? Is that different? Yeah. Yeah, that's a new model. See, they're buying, it would be as if I mean, what if, here, let me explain it a little bit more, and then I'll do my what if stories. Remember, because we're just talking, we're friends, we're at dinner. This can be disjointed, right? Okay. Look at this. Here's the process. You get your trade-in price, right? You identify your new home. They buy it. They buy that house, and then they make improvements, and then you move in. So you say, that's the house I want. They buy it. They make the necessary improvements. Then you move in. Then they make the necessary improvements on your house. They sell it, and then you get that house, and you get the profits from your old house. Is that cool? Come on, be honest. Is that cool? Yeah, that's cool. Like, how do you compete against that? If the prices are right? If the value I'm going to get out of my home compared with the pain that I'm going to be relieved of is not too great, I'm a potential client because I need that house across from the high school. Like, I need to do that now. And then you can sell my house later? Yeah, I'll do that all day long. All day long. But here's the thing. Here's the other thing they're doing, and this is back to the 1 degree at a time. And by the way, when I change my slides, they don't actually change. I have to wait for somebody because mine are in English, remember, because I don't speak Spanish. And there's a human back there who's probably said, wow, this guy's boring, and I've stopped paying attention. Okay, there we go. But here's what they're doing. Look how they're describing the traditional model. You risk losing your dream home in a bidding war. No time or money to make repairs. You wait 40 days to know if your new home appraises and your mortgage is approved. You pay the mortgage, utilities on 2 properties. You hire and pay a contract. They're defining these pain points. And when I read those pain points, I see myself in those pain points. I see all of the things that I fear. I see all of the things that I don't want to go through. I see myself as a consumer in that. And then I read all of these things that they're going to do via their process, and I think to myself, wow, this is pretty cool. The focus, it's not on cost reduction. It's not lower commissions. The focus is on the consumer. What's the pain? What's the problem? Let me solve that problem. That's the focus. And so you have an opportunity. Because are these 2 companies going to kill you? Say it with me. No. No, these 2 companies are not going to kill you. No. No. No, they're not. Are they going to take a share of the market? Yes. If they can do what they say they can do, should they get a share of that market? Yes. Yes, they should. So, everyone wants to kill you. And they do. Everyone wants to kill you. Every technology startup in San Francisco that's getting big venture capital money, and you see it all the time. They set up some straw man argument about how fat and happy you are all as brokers. Everything's easy for you. You just make so much money for doing nothing. That's the story they tell. And then people throw all this money at them. But here's the thing. They get to tell that story, and the story keeps working because the consumer experience through this process is similar. And so the VCs, when they hear this story, they buy the story, they believe the story, and they throw the money at them. And I'm telling you right now, with enough money and enough intelligence and a right understanding of a problem, these people can solve a lot of these problems. But the benefit that you have in this is that if you understand what they're really doing, if you look at them from the lens of what pain are they relieving, what problem are they addressing, the next question you should be asking is, can I solve that problem too? Should I solve that problem? Should I be looking at some of the things they're doing and incorporating them into my own business practices? Ultimately, they still have to go out and find these human beings like me. And I still today, unless you're like me and you're totally in tune to all of this, I still think what I need to do is go get a realtor. Well, on Twitter, I talked about this last week, and a realtor friend said, well, why don't you just, go have an agent help you go talk to someone and make an offer on the house. Like, go to someone who doesn't have a home for sale and work with a realtor to go ask them, would you be willing to sell your house? And my response is, why not both? Why not have a realtor do that portion of it for me, do the thing that a realtor can do, and provide me with these other options? Why does it have to be binary? Why does it have to be this either or? Why does it have to be us or them? Why can't it just be you? What is it about this process that you should bring into it? How do you help relieve the other parts of the pain of this? Because I still, as a consumer, don't know what to do if the house I want isn't for sale. I only know what to do if I see the house for sale. Do you understand what I'm saying? I might need you to go and figure out, how do you approach someone who isn't selling their house to figure out if they'd like to sell their house, and then introduce me to this simpler process. And so the end game here is, you only have a few things to think about and a few things to worry about, but what I want you to do is to think about these next 4 things. 1, make sure you know who you actually are. And by you, I mean you as an individual real estate agent, you as an individual realtor, but you as an industry as well. Do you really know who you are? Do you really understand the problems you're solving? Are you really in tune with it? I mean, have you sat and stared at yourself in the face and looked at yourself the way a consumer looks at you, to be really honest with yourself? Don't just push these perceptions aside. Embrace those perceptions. Look at yourself through that lens. Look at yourself through the mirror that the consumer sees you, and be honest. It doesn't mean that in being honest, you're not still doing a great service for your clients. It just means that it allows you to be more empathetic. It allows you to act more humanely. If you truly admit that I'm not always solving all of the problems they're feeling, I'm not always doing all of these things, I actually can do a better job. I can be better at this. I can do more for my customer. See, the opportunity that these new companies present is for you to see yourself through new glasses. And that's a gift. It's a gift to be able to look at yourself, and to look at yourself honestly and truthfully, and to be able to make the changes necessary to improve. That's a gift. They're giving you a gift. So know yourself, and don't be your own enemy. Don't continue doing the things that cause pain for consumers. Number 2, stop making people who aren't your enemies your enemies. Stop giving credit to business models that aren't new business models. Stop claiming or bemoaning or whining about this or that or the other thing. Just stop. Stop, take a break. Understand your enemy. Is this truly an enemy I need to be concerned with? And if so, why? What problem are they solving that I'm not solving? Don't just push it aside. If it looks like they're only going to, I hear this argument a lot. Oh, they can only address this percentage of the marketplace. Well, if one company addresses this percentage, and another addresses this percentage, and another addresses this percentage, pretty soon, guess what happens? 10% here, 10% there, pretty soon you got, 20% the way I do math. You can't fall asleep on this. So how do I explain this? Have you ever, Pedro was so helpful to me yesterday because he sat at lunch with me and he was grilling me on questions. And so I said, have you ever gotten an iPhone app or an app on your phone, and it's this new app and people talk about it, and you download it and you play with it for a few minutes, and then you go, I hate this app. I don't like this app. And then it sits on your phone and it updates and you don't pay any attention to it and you don't even delete it. It just sits on your phone. And then 2 years later, somebody says, oh, have you ever used this app? And you go, oh, yeah, I used that 2 years ago. Oh, it's so much better now. See, that's kind of where I see you guys, You can't push aside these new business models just because in their very first iteration you look at it and say, oh, that's nothing. You can't fall asleep. You can't fall asleep. You need to understand who your enemy is, who the real enemy is. You need to cannibalize yourself before someone else does it for you. This is a basic business principle. You need to eat your own before somebody eats it for you. If there's something happening in this industry that you believe is causing pain, or one of these new companies comes along and they point out this pain, and you sit back and you do nothing, you allow them to go out and solve that problem without incorporating that into your own business, you do nothing, you deserve to die. If you recognize the pain and you do nothing, you deserve to die. See? Isn't that happy? Julio, have I made you sad? I'm not trying to make you sad or make you mad. That's the truth. See, but this is what I believe because I know you. I know who you are. I know where your hearts are. You just need to wake up and understand that you're still in control, that you still have the ability to make these changes, that you are the people who have the ability to influence the future of real estate in ways that nobody else can. If you just pay attention, recognize that a pain is real, and don't ignore it just because it's coming from outside of your space. Do not do that. And then the final thing that I want you to pay attention to is, oh man, if there's one thing that's true about these new technology companies is that they're not afraid to fail. They're not. It's a mantra. Fail fast, fail fast, fail fast. That's their mantra. Build, launch, fail, learn. Build, launch, fail, learn. They're not afraid to fail. Failure is part of the process. But even in your own life, you know this to be true already. Every failure I've ever had in my life has led me to this place. Everything I've done wrong, I've learned from. You're the same way. But something happens as we get older, right? We begin to be a little less capable of taking chances. As an industry, be bold. Be bold. Be bold. Embrace failure. Try new things. Do something different. Accept that the consumer doesn't like you. Go out and change that. It's your responsibility. You have an opportunity with all of these new models to look at them and say, yes, I see myself in that. I don't want to be that. I'm going to change. I'm going to do something different. Be bold. Be bold. Thank you.